Hello, friends, and welcome to Rise Up in Real Estate, where we are on a quest. We are looking for the extra in the ordinary. And I'm Tad Fulford, and I will be your host on this journey where we will take an honest look at what makes ordinary people extraordinary. Exactly how can we be extra in our personal and our professional lives? In this season of the Rise Up in Real Estate adventure, there will be a monthly rhythm, meaning each month we will have 4 unique episodes. In one episode, we'll tackle a pressing current real estate industry thought. In another, we will chat with a local difference maker in the real estate space. For our 3rd episode, we will host a respected national thought leader. And finally, we will have a 4th bonus and surprise episode. And in each episode, we will be digging into not only what those people think, but who those people are. Along the way, it's my hope that you'll laugh some, you'll be challenged some, you will get inspired some, and if we are lucky, maybe even figure out a way or two you can rise up in your own life and be the best human that you can be. So the challenge is, let's all rise up. Rise Up Nation, welcome back. I'm excited to have you here for another episode at Rise Up in Real Estate. And today, unlike some episodes, is real estate related. The guy that I've got on here has got a lot of experience. He's doing a lot of cool things up in Jersey. You'll notice that when you hear his accent a little bit. But this is a good friend of mine. He's a RE/MAX broker owner up there and doing some great things. And I'm just going to ask him some questions. Sometimes I think it's good to hear what other people are experiencing in his market. I've enjoyed catching up with him for a few minutes before this call. But Carl SanFilippo, welcome to Rise Up in Real Estate. Good to see you.
Tad, thanks so much for having me on. And I didn't realize I had an accent. So I guess I know now that I do have a Jersey accent, huh?
Well, I mean, for those of us down here, like we're Southern, so we draw everything. We're in coastal South Carolina, so we draw everything out. I think it might be us that has the accent. And since you're my guest, I have the accent. But I know that my listeners, we've got listeners everywhere, but I know a lot of them are from around my area, and they'll hear you and they'll be like, "Oh gosh, you sound just like a lot of our clients," because a lot of our business, Carl, is people relocating from your area to ours or vice versa. Some people going back. So I'm sure you know that, though. Have you ever been to coastal South Carolina before at all?
I haven't, but I'm planning a golf trip with some of my buddies for the fall. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, anything I can do to help you. I mean, I know a little bit about golf in this area. There's 130 golf courses down here within 60 miles of each other. So let me know how I can help you. But I want to tell a little backstory on you, Carl. I've enjoyed watching you grow through RE/MAX. We've been in the business together in RE/MAX for a long time, and I've enjoyed watching you be just a out front guy. Like, you say what you mean what you say. You are no nonsense. You built a really, really nice organization, very ethical. But I love, like, some of your I hope some of my listeners, I'm going to give you a chance to spell your name and all this later, but some of my listeners will love your stories. Like, I'll turn on some of your stories and they got like the coolest music, and you just are talking like you got your Yankees hat on and you're talking like real talk. I love it. But tell me, Carl, a little bit about you. Like, where were you born? Tell me a little bit about your upbringing, if you don't mind, just to get our listeners on base here.
I will. So I was born in central New Jersey, in Princeton, New Jersey. And I was born with a very bad speech impediment. I was born cross-eyed. So I grew up facing a lot of challenges. I was told that I was never going to be able to speak correctly without like a lisp or some type of speech impediment. So even when I'm speaking to you now, and I speak across the country on stage in front of people, sometimes I can think of a word, but I know I can't pronounce it. So I have to think of a similar word to say because of my speech problems. My vision, I was never supposed to play sports, and I was going to be a college wrestler. Even now when I play golf, I see 3 golf balls. I just try to hit that middle one. So I had a lot of challenges growing up. I was never the best student. Couldn't speak till late. I was told I wasn't going to get into the college that I went to. Told I would never get into a master's degree. So I ended up going to school in Pennsylvania. I got a master's degree from Lehigh University, and just lived a great life. My parents were in education, very strong upbringing. My parents are still my best friends today. They were the first mentors in my life. And
Awesome.
Still some of the best mentors I have in my life. And I always think of them, and I still call them as a sounding board when I have questions and bounce things off of them. So I'm very tight with my family. And then after college, I went off and I started working in a government job. I thought I had my dream job. I realized within 2 weeks that I hated it. And I said, wow, I just spent 5 years of schooling to realize in 2 weeks I hate this job. So I ended up quitting. I moved back to my parents' house. I kind of bet on myself. I got into real estate, and then I was a realtor for a bunch of years, got into the brokerage side. And here I am now, and I'm married, got a wife, two great kids, 2 and 6 years old. So I'm always busy. I'm sure you know what that's like, right?
Yes,
Always
sir.
something to do.
Yes, sir.
And now I'm just blessed to lead about an organization between all of our different companies that we have in silos, about 400 people. So it's awesome to be able to lead such a great group, and I've met so many great people along the way, like you.
Man, what a story. And I knew that about you, Carl, but I had forgotten the adversity that you overcame. I think that's part of the blessing of your story. And when I saw you at our R4, had our international convention a few weeks ago, and I saw Carl, and he goes, "Dude, why have I not been on your podcast yet?" And I'm like, "You know what? Your name is literally in my book, and I'm gonna call you." So here we are. But I love at what point in your childhood did you have brothers and sisters too, or is it
I
just
had an
you?
older brother,
Older brother. At what point
Mhm.
did you realize you had some issues that you had to overcome? Like, was it apparent right away? Like, do you have memories of that stuff?
I do a little bit. I remember the speech impediment problems. I remember I had to wear these big sports goggles when I played baseball. I think is my parents never let me feel guilty for myself. And that was one of the biggest things that changed my life is my parents are like, hey, listen, you have a problem, you deal with it. They said it's not an excuse. There's worse problems out there. They said you have to just tackle it head on. So ever since I was little, my parents kind of instilled in me in that fight or flight mentality. Like either you could cry and whine about it and move on and blame other people, or you could just deal with your problem and move on. So I just kind of dealt with the problem and moved on. I ended up playing baseball throughout high school and everything else. So my parents never let me feel guilty for myself. So I never felt bad for myself. So all I knew were these are issues I had that I just had to plug forward
Yeah, it was what you were given, and you just worked on it. It sounds like I need to have your parents on the podcast someday. They sound like good people. Like what? And it's interesting when you were talking about them. They were in education, right?
Yes.
So they basically had a 9 to 5 Monday Friday kind of thing. Were they in
Yep.
schools like administration or teachers or what?
Yeah. So my dad worked for the city of New York City Board of
Okay.
Education. He commuted every day, 45 minutes from where we live to Brooklyn. And it was funny because I remember I call it one of my sliding glass moments, right? One of those moments in my life that changed my life forever. And I was in college and I was kind of floundering a little bit, didn't really know what I wanted to do. Was kind of on the verge of flunking out, but knew I didn't want to go home. So I was having too much fun at college to go home. And I called my dad. I said, hey, dad, listen, man, I think I'm going to get into education. And I said, I'll become a gym teacher, a coach, whatever it is, but I'm going to follow your footsteps. And my dad's reply was, if you do that, I'm going to pull you out of college.
Okay.
And I was stunned. I go, what do you mean you're going to pull me out of college? I thought you're going to tell me how proud you are. You did it. My uncle's in it. He goes, listen, it was good for me when I did it. He goes, set your goals higher. He goes, you can always go back to education. He goes, but you're young. He goes, take your shot. Do something you want to do. He goes, if you want to go into education, I'm pulling you out. So it was really one of those moments for me where I was like, wow, here I is thinking this would be my path. It's safe. My family's already done it, but my dad had a different plan for me, which I'm really glad he did because he could see things I didn't see about me and my personality. And if it wasn't for my dad, I'd probably be a teacher right now.
That's amazing. That was going to be my question because it's like they weren't in an entrepreneurial business, and you are, and
Right.
yet I was wondering who pushed you there. I mean, he did. He's in the job, like working every day, and I can imagine the grind. You know, us down here in the South, we think about a commute into the city. I complain when I got to take 7 minutes to go to the grocery store. You know, so think about that grind. I hope the listeners are picking up on this. I mean, I respect you so much for speaking so openly and kindly about your parents. Like, it's so nice to hear. Both my parents are gone now, and it's so nice to hear somebody refer back to. And you talk to them every day, or pretty much every day.
I still talk to them almost every day.
Yeah.
They're down in the Caribbean on a vacation right now. They sent me a picture, but as a kid, you'd always hear people be like, who's your idol? They would say, Michael Jordan or a movie star. And I was always like, man, they didn't do shit for me, those people. My parents made sacrifices for me every single day so I could get where I wanted to be. So they were always my idols. They were the ones that I always looked up to.
That's really cool. I've never heard it put that way before, but I love that. So, and they're lucky to have you. What's your older brother do? Is he in
So
the
Tad,
business at all?
my older brother, and if you're listening to this and not watching this, I have a shaved head.
Yeah.
My older brother has a great, great hair, You should see it. Kind of looks like Elvis. He's fully tattooed. He's the complete opposite of me. He's the creative director for a marketing
Okay.
company, and he does like pharmaceutical drugs. He can never do what I could do, and I can never do what he does. So we are on the total different spectrum. You would not even think he's my brother.
That's awesome. Well, that's the way it goes sometimes. The same with my sister. I mean, she doesn't have Elvis hair and is not tattooed up, but we're very different. So that's good. So you thought you had your dream job, and then all of a sudden, when did you meet your wife along this journey? Were you in that dream job or not?
No. So I met my wife about 12 years ago.
Okay.
We met at a happy hour down the Jersey Shore, and I mean, she's so great because she was a teacher, but she understands my goals and how driven I am, and she just supports me. And she also has a very good read on people. So I always say to her, like, "What did you think?" And sometimes like, "I like that person." She's like, "No," and she's typically right. She's got that good read. She has good instincts, so she's been super supportive during the whole process of all the different businesses and everything we've done. We have a big investment side of our business where we flip houses, rental properties, small apartment buildings. So she's very supportive with all that stuff as well, which has really helped through building this. And she's just that great sounding board because she thinks differently than I do. And she's typically right. I hope she's not listening because she's typically right probably 8 out of 10 times.
Right.
But I'll take my 2 times and celebrate them. But it's just great having that support system as you build, because you know what it's like. Everybody sees where you are on your page 100. Nobody sees where that page 1, that page 2, that page 3, the long hours, you're the janitor in the location, you're the receptionist, you pay the bills. Nobody sees that part. They just see where you are now. And that journey is what really makes the page 100.
Yeah, I like that. I've heard your video on that. I've watched it a few times. And I have to admit, my people probably know you because I steal some of your video content and make it my own. I think I asked your permission back in the day, but I remember your don't compare your page 100 to someone, or your page 1 to someone else's page 100. That is very profound. And I think people getting in the business or switching over careers, they have that, we get, envy. Envy is a bad thing in this business, isn't it?
Yeah. I would say one of my greatest weaknesses is I never look at what I've accomplished. I've always looked at what I haven't accomplished.
Okay.
So we're at our organization, we have 300 something agents. I'm like, well, why aren't we at 500? And then when I'm at 500, I'm probably gonna be like, why aren't we at 1,000? And when I was at 8, it was like, why aren't we at 50?
Yeah.
So that's just part of the journey. And that's kind of what drives me. And I think really talented people get driven by that as well. And people who want to build businesses, I'm never reflecting on what we've done. I've looked at what we're doing, and people are like, how did you do to build this? I said, I went to work every day. I put my head down and I went to work just like it was a regular job, and we're just consistent.
Yeah. So you got into real estate, right? Out of your dream job, quote unquote. Yeah. Did you come in as a realtor? Were you selling, buying, listing and selling property?
So it's a great question. I came in as a realtor.
Okay.
I was dead broke. I moved back into my parents' house. I was 25 years old. I remember this.
What year was that?
2006.
Oh,
so
good.
It was the
good
last
year. Nice pick.
booming market, right? The last booming market. So I get into the real estate market. I have no idea what I'm doing. I was at a brokerage with no training. I'm sitting there on the day one. I was like, what am I going to do? I was 25. I was single. I still wanted to enjoy life. So I got a 0% credit card. This is anyone who listens to Dave Ramsey is probably going to cringe at the next part.
Yeah.
But I lived off that credit card for the next 12 months. I was the guy, go out to dinner with my friends. Hey, I'll pick up the bill. Just give me the cash. Pay the minimum on the credit card. And I told myself, if I can't pay this credit card off in 12 months, I'm going to go back and get a real job, because real estate's not a real job,
Right.
I was like, I'm just going to work my ass off for the next 12 months. But I still wanted to have fun. I still wanted to have a life. I bartended a little bit. So I took that credit card. It was April 2006. And then that first full year of 2007, I did about $15 million in sales volume. And that was a much different $15 million in sales volume then than it is now.
Yeah.
And I was able to pay off the credit card, buy a house, and the rest is sort of history. And I did that for about 7 years. And then I kind of got bored with doing what I was doing. I was doing a lot of REOs, a lot of short sales, a lot of foreclosure work. I was kind of getting bored. And that's when I ended up acquiring a small RE/MAX office with 8 agents who are still with me today, all 8.
All of them.
And that was 10 years ago. So that was 2013. I was never a RE/MAX agent. I didn't know the system. I remember sitting in the office the first day. It was an older gentleman that I bought the brokerage from, and sitting there and I go, wow, the Wi-Fi doesn't even work in this office. I'm like, what the hell did I just get myself into?
Yeah.
So I had a bad breakup with my old broker, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And I just kind of put my head down and learned from people who were I wanted to be, and just started going to work.
That's good. So I wanted you to tell me, if you can think of it, what would be, for those that are listening that are like you were living on that credit card. I love that story. What a great, and I don't know, Dave Ramsey might put you on stage and let you tell that story, because that's I mean, his thing is get out of debt, and you did it in 12 months. You had a plan. But what would you say in that first year? What qualities did you have, or what did you do that made you successful? What was it about Carl?
I sort of watched a video the other day of Will Smith. He goes, "I'll outrun anybody on a treadmill," because it's like, I'll die on that treadmill before I stop running. So I just had that attitude. I was like, I'm gonna make this work. I was like, I don't want to go back and get a regular job. I was like, I'm just determined to make this work. And I was a wrestler in high school, and I think that sport taught me a lot about self-discipline, because you had to learn how to make weight. You were out there on the mat by yourself. But I was like, I just want to prove everybody who says I was crazy to do this, because you have a master's degree, you had a job, to go do it. And when I was doing this in 2007, it's not like it was now. Real estate wasn't as glamorous. There wasn't the $1 million listing shows. There wasn't HGTV. So I was 25 years old. I was the only 25-year-old probably on the board.
Right.
It's not like it is today. And everyone just thought I was crazy. And I used that as my motivation. And I remember when I closed my first house, I was like, wow, if I could do 2 of these a month, it would be like getting 2 paychecks on a regular job, and I should make $100,000. I was like, this is a lot better of a lifestyle than my friends who were working at a big 5 accounting firm to 2 o'clock in the morning during tax season. I was like, I'll take this lifestyle over that lifestyle. So I was just determined that I knew what I wanted. And if I got attached to a process and not my immediate result, and I just kept pushing the needle and chopping the wood, I would get there. And I did. So it was a great experience. I kind of had to reset when I did the brokerage and get back into that mentality, which I feel like everybody should do every few years. And that's what the same mentality you have when building the brokerage.
So you bought this brokerage. So I love that story about you being an agent. And I've heard you talk about you're a big process guy, not results guy. And that if I can, now that I know you're a wrestler, it totally makes sense because that is exactly what you have to do. I know some people that are pretty high level wrestlers, and that's all they do is it's almost like they're so focused on the process that they don't even know that they win sometimes. Right. I mean, they just do their thing. But when you started this brokerage, you said in what year? And it was 8 agents. What year was that?
2013.
Okay. So 2013. So 10 years ago, there were 9 of you, you and 8.
Correct.
It sounds like this. I saw a show like this. So you and 8 and you went back to the drawing board. You started getting attached to the process. Are any of those 8 on your leadership team now? Or are they still all agents working away?
No, they're still all agents.
Okay, cool.
But they're some of our biggest cheerleaders.
Yeah,
and
man,
for them to still be with us through all the changes that we've had, moving locations and the growth. And listen, when you grow, you're going to drive. It's like running with a football. You're going to fumble the football once in a while. But they stayed with us through all the growth. They're my biggest cheerleaders. I call them the core 8. We try to recognize them a lot. We still have the same admin from when I bought it 8 years ago, sort of help driving the back end and the operations. So it's been so great to see those because, again, who cares if you could recruit 200 agents and 400 walk out the door?
Right.
So the retention piece is huge to me. It's such a validator in the marketplace. And those 8 and the staff we had is really what let me springboard into the growth we've had.
Yeah. And if you still have those original people, either you are a nice guy or you're surrounded by nice guys and gals, because I don't know, that it just is a testimony to how you lead, that you still have the original folks, because you've had to make a lot of tough decisions and their growth and all that. So good for you.
And I tell our team all the time, we're going to make mistakes. We're going to make a decision that's wrong, but we're always going to lead and be intentional with trying to do the right thing. And we might be wrong, but our goal is to always to try to do the right thing. So I tell people that because if something goes wrong or whatever else, our people know we're trying to make the right decision and that obstacles could come up.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Are you still selling now or no?
I'm not.
No. Are you pretty in touch with your agents? Like, tell me, what is your take on the market right now? I know it's shifting, pivoting, changing, whatever people call it. What do you think? you live or own property along the coast of South Carolina, you probably need insurance. We Insure Advocates is a locally owned independent agency with industry-leading service support. Our team of customer-centric agents can explain your coverage options and help you craft an insurance program that fits your needs and budget. Data-driven for better value, people-led for better service. That's the difference of we. For all of your property insurance needs, please find us at weinsureadvocates.com or call us at 843-491-6990.
So this is what I'm telling our agents right now is you need to get a bigger piece of a smaller pie. When you wake up in the morning, you need to think, how do I get a bigger piece of a smaller pie? Yes, transactions are going to be down. Yes, agents are starting to leave the business. But you know what? When anything changes, it's an opportunity if you put yourself in the right position to execute. So I'm telling all of our agents, they get probably sick of hearing me say this, but I'm like, get a bigger piece of a smaller pie. I'm also saying you need to be doing one of three things right now. You have to, A, dominate your database, not just have a contact sheet, not just send a drip email. You have to be all over your database like white on rice. You have to be doing client events. You have to be out in front 24 times a year, because right now that database is going to help you survive and get a bigger piece of a smaller pie. Is two, you have to be out in front of social media. And what I mean out in front in your marketing, because what's happening is things change. People's natural reaction if they get a little scared is they go into flight mode. Oh, I'm uncertain. I'm not sure what's happening. I'm going to do less videos. I'm going to kind of hide out in the back and see what's happening. Screw that. You got to fight and you got to get out in front. So when everyone's pulling back, if you're more out in front, you're just going to be more prolific. More people are going to see you. And think about where most people's database they're connected to right now is on social media. So Tad, I don't know about you. When I started real estate in 2006, my broker goes to me, all right, Carl, write down everybody you know and mail them a card with a postcard that you got into the business. And I remember sitting there going, I was like, wow, none of my friends have money. And I don't really know that many people. I was like, this is not a good exercise for me. Agents now have such an advantage because of social media to stay in front of their sphere and their contacts. So you got to be really out on social media. And third thing is you need to have fierce conversations and your dialogue needs to be on point. So what I mean by that is you need to be practicing. You need to know your scripts. You need to be role playing with the agents. Because I always tell agents, you're either role playing with another agent or you're role playing with the client. You're going to get less at bats. You need your conversion rate as high as possible. I was like, if you do those three things at a really high level, you're going to get a bigger piece of a smaller pie.
I love that. You probably noticed my hesitation in my conversation because I'm taking notes over here, man. That's good. That's really good stuff. I mean, I don't know. We've talked about all three of those things recently too. So that's cool. People have a little bit of resistance to scripting or practicing their dialogue because they think they come to the table with these skills, right? I'm just naturally good at this. That's why we got into this business. But you're probably those three things. I'm guessing you didn't just start saying those this year.
I started saying those pretty much third quarter last year when I saw what was happening. I was watching the data. And this is such an advantage over, say, 2008. Because I was in that market in 2008. 2008, we were pricing houses for a downward trajectory, right? It was like, okay, well, the last house sold for 220. Okay, we need to be at 210 because prices are going down. Here in New Jersey, we're seeing our prices stay steady with a little bit of a bump increase. We're still seeing multiple offers. Real lack of inventory because of mortgage rates and nobody wanting to really sell with their low rates at 3% and selling at 7%. So we're just telling the agents, like, there's still a lot of opportunity because prices are up 30%, 25% from 2019. So every two transactions you do now is like doing three then. Yeah. So let's just focus on getting that bigger piece of a smaller pie. I mean, Tad, let me ask you. So you're a golf pro.
Yeah.
You'd play a competitive round of golf.
Yeah.
How many practice swings? How much time would you have to spend chipping, putting, practicing for competition?
That's all you did. That's it. I mean, right? A lot.
Because you want to be a pro.
Yeah. When you get in the situation, this is what I used to, it's about the same as a soldier. When you get in the situation in competition, you don't want to be surprised. You don't want to be stressed out. You want to have already experienced it before in a a protected environment. Practice.
Right. So that's what I tell agents. I said,
Yeah.
you need to practice like you want to be a professional. A professional golfer has all these hours of practice. Professional football player watches hours of film, weight room training, diet, exercise just to play for 60 minutes.
Yeah.
And I said, you're going into appointments with $10,000 on the line and you don't think it's worth practicing, you're going to wing it.
Right. Right.
So I always stress to agents, are you giving your client the same experience? Is every single one having the same TAD experience, or are you just winging it? Because the pros don't wing it.
Right.
Right. The pros practice so much. I heard something with golf. The pros practice so much, not so they can't miss.
Yeah.
Right. It's like you got to get dialed in. So we're really honing things now with our agents because that extra preparation, that extra work is going to separate agents in this market.
Right. And it's interesting if you probably watch professional golf now. If you watch a professional golfer, when they have a routine when they're on TV,
Right.
It's precise. Like some of them take their glove off to start their routine. Some of them will throw grass in the air. They say something to their caddy. If that routine gets interrupted before they hit their shot, what do? They start it all over again. They start the whole thing over again. They're so routine. And then you see these guys, you see somebody like Tiger Woods win as much as he did, or, Scotty Scheffler right now killing it in the PGA Tour. And all we see is the icing on the cake. You don't see all the ingredients, all the work, all the time. We're seeing their 15 seconds of fame, but it's been a lifetime of practice. And I don't know why we don't practice more than we do. I mean, I love, but what's sticking out to me about you, Carl, is, and I've talked to you quite a few times, and I've been in classes with you and stuff. You speak a consistent language. You talk like this all the time to your agents, to me, to people that you run into in the hallway at a conference, probably to your wife. Eventually, your kids will start hearing it. It is it's a lifestyle for you, the way that you live and the way that you talk. And I appreciate that. Like
Thank you.
That larger piece of a smaller pie is something you're probably going to say to your wife and kids one day.
Yeah. Well, what I say, tattoo, is to our agents. And I think one of the reasons we have good retention rates, and, we're not going to be the right office for everybody, but our retention rate's so good because I tell our agents is, you want to grow your business, you really want to take this and be your career, just mimic what we're doing on the leadership level on the company into your business. So I tell agents all the time, I'm not going to tell you to dominate your database, and then I'm not doing anything in my database with our agents. I'm not going to tell you to have really good dialogue, and then our leadership team doesn't have that good dialogue. I'm not going to tell you to be out in front in video and be all in front of social media, and then you go on my page and there's nothing there. So I always say is we're going to lead by example. And I think that's why we've gotten a lot of good buy-in, and we have a lot of people reach out about joining our organization because we're leading out in front. And if you're not doing that right now, you're going to get burnt. Yeah.
Yeah. The hard market, really, the cream rises to the top. And the word that pops in my mind when I hear you describe it that way is authentic. Right. When you live the way that you tell others to live, that's authentic. And I like that about you. That makes sense to me now. I've always been impressed with your growth. I've always been impressed with your retention, like keeping people. When I meet some of your leadership team at conferences, I've always been like, what is it? I mean, Carl must be really good at happy hour. Like he buys the right drinks, or he's paying their way or whatever, but it's just that authentic leadership. You won't ask anybody. This is what Michael Jordan used to say. And I'm not putting him on the level of your mom and dad, but I'm a big Michael Jordan fan, the way he led his team. He said people used to hate him. If you watched his show, like people used to hate him in his practice on his team because he was so demanding. But he never asked him to do anything that he wasn't willing to do himself.
I agree, right? 110%. Yeah.
I mean, and he was like, but in leadership, you're doing the same thing, and I think that's pretty cool. So your organization right now, from you being a realtor to 8 people to now, you said you've got an influence of about 400 folks in all of your different ancillary businesses. What did you call them? Silos?
Silos, yes.
Yeah, different things. Like you probably have property management. Do you have insurance, mortgage, title, all that?
We have property insurance. We have title. We actually, our mortgage company just got acquired. We actually just sold off the mortgage company. Okay. And we have an investment holding company. We do fix and flips. So we have our hands in a lot of different things with real estate. But this year too, one of the reasons we sold the mortgage company is we're trying to stay really laser focused right now.
Yeah.
And that to us was something that we let the professionals handle.
Yeah. You know
So
that.
we ended up being acquired.
Do you know we just did the same thing?
Oh, did you really?
Ironically, we had a Motto mortgage for
Okay.
3 years, and we just decided we felt like last year it was time to put back on our focus pants, like be good at what you're good at and let the people that are good at that be good at that. We were chasing our tails a lot. So that's interesting that we both did that in the last little bit of
We were in
time.
the same spot. We were in the same exact spot.
Yeah, that's a crazy business. And interestingly enough, I'm interviewing a guy in the mortgage business for this podcast too that I don't really know, but I'm interested to talk to him because that's a weird business over there. I'm glad that somebody knows how to do it well because I didn't know how. So let me ask you a few things as we wrap up here, Carl. And you've brought a lot of value already, but I love to ask everybody when I have them on here. And it's an awkward question, maybe, and you might have touched on it since we've been chatting. But I like to ask everybody, what do you feel like is your superpower, if you had to define it? And I know people don't love talking about themselves, but in your best New Jersey confident self, what's your superpower, my friend?
That I think I'm laser focused and underestimated.
Okay.
So what I mean by that is I'm pretty focused on a goal. I'm pretty lockjaw on it. I'll work towards it. And I think a lot of people always say, "Oh, Carl's so nice. Like I didn't expect him to be um, so aggressive, or he's so focused, or I didn't think he'd be the type that'd be able to do what he did." So I think a lot of it is, I'll have a conversation. People are like, "Oh, it's amazing what you did." I'll see people from high school like, "I saw how big of a business here. That's great, Papa." And I'm like, "Oh, thank you, thank you." And like, I never thought I could do it. And in my head, I'm thinking, "F you." Like, I know what I could do. I just don't have to go out and tell everybody. So I think I get underestimated a lot. And some people take the kindness or weakness type thing. But I'm super laser focused. I'm super driven, but I also love to give back. I mean, I truly love to see others succeed. I don't care about winning the awards, but I love seeing the agents win awards. I've had agents that have told me that, we helped change their lives, we helped save their house. They took their first family vacation. It was the first time that they leveraged our concierge and admin teams where they can go and cook dinner for their family. So for me, everything else is great, but really the success of others. And if everybody in my organization is successful, I'm going to be successful.
Right.
So I really just love pouring into others to get back. I love The Go Giver. It's such a great book. But this business is built on people. It's built on relationships. You can have the best systems, processes, and all this other stuff. But if you don't have the people running it, it's all worth nothing.
Yeah.
So I would think that's my superhuman strength, just being underestimated and laser focused.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's interesting. It's a dichotomy almost to be um, people focused, but also tenacious. Those words almost are oxymoronic, like they almost are opposites but you have the gift of being both. And you don't have to be vocal about your tenacity. You can just be that way.
Right.
And when everybody else is resting, Carl is working. Like he's plugging away, doing his thing. Tortoise is going to win the race most of the time, right? You're just there.
Exactly. And I've been blessed to be around so many good coaches, mentors, and just learning from others. You don't always have to reinvent the wheel. Sometimes you need to just rip off and repeat.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm not ashamed to say that. Just being around by people who could cut my learning curve, and I could take some of that and pass it on to my agents. And that to me is really, I love doing that as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, tell me a book. You mentioned one a second ago, but I want to put it in the show notes and put a link to it. What's a good book for us to read if we one that's made a difference for you, Carl?
So one of the biggest books that made a difference in my life, and my parents bought it for me at first, and I didn't read it right away. I probably read it 4 years later. I made my wife read it. I'll probably make my kids read it one day. Is Rich Dad Poor Dad by Richard Kiyosaki.
Okay.
Just changed my whole mindset of investing and your dealing with your tax liabilities as an agent, because I hate seeing agents get caught up with the IRS. And we see it all the time, especially after a big year going into a slower year. So Rich Dad Poor Dad, just asset liabilities and sort of how to think and how to build a business. And it's funny, I build businesses now a lot. So we started a property management company a year ago. We're really taken off. I built that company from the scratch to now completely different than I built my real estate offices. The property management company I am not involved in. It doesn't revolve around me. We hired super talent and we let them do their thing. I helped with the lead gen, getting the accounts, but that runs itself. And now it comes down to, okay, how many units do we sign up this month? What does it look like? Where in the beginning, and a lot of it was because of financial situation, a lot of it in the beginning was I was the business, right? And Richard Kiyosaki really taught me how to look at businesses, how to build that business, how to be an investor. So like I said, we do a lot of fix and flips. We have a lot of rental properties. We also lend money out of our personal to other investors and things like that. And so we can move that investor quadrant. So he's really been a big influence in my life and helped change my mindset. Like I said, my wife's read the book. I reread it every year just so I could keep sharp on the principles, but it's been a game changer.
Yeah, that's a good one. I haven't had anybody mention that one in a while, but really worth the read. It's hard to get to that investor quadrant, but when you do, the world makes you feel guilty for it, but you're where you're the best. You can do more when you're there.
So like Tad, I know it's your show, but what's your book?
My go-to is, and there's two. I really love The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. That's the book that's changed the way that I act the most. And then Atomic Habits is like, I think it's a college level course from that. But there's so many books. I mean, I like reading. I don't read though, Carl. I Audible. I drive so much. Like we've got 6 offices. I'm all over the place. Like tomorrow, I'm driving to Charleston, about 90 minutes away. I'll listen to a book on the way down there. I don't read. My wife will plug away and read. She's got to have it in her hand. I'm like, I don't even think I own a book. my library's in my phone. Last thing. Well, two things. Why don't you brought so much value today. I want you to tell the listeners. Tell where can they connect with you? I know you've got an unbranded page. You've got some stuff for you, but spell your name. Tell us how we can reach out to you if we want to.
So the best place is Facebook and Instagram. My name is Carl, C-A-R-L. Last name, SanFilippo, S-A-N-F-I-L-I-P-P-O. All my profiles are public. I have agents across the country I'm connected with. We put a lot of training and things right online, so feel free to just connect with me.
That's awesome. Very, very good. Last question, and I'll let you get back to being productive. And you're probably about ready to go home and love on those. You have 2 girls, 2 boys, a boy and a girl. What you got?
I have a 6-year-old girl and a 2-year-old boy.
Perfect. So the family done?
It is for me. I don't know what my wife's got in mind, but it's done for me.
Yeah. So in other words, no, it's not done. Yeah. That's what you're saying. So good. Tell me, the name of the show that I picked for us is Rise Up in Real Estate. And I try to find my extraordinary folks out there in the world like you, to tell our listeners, what is one thing you do in your daily routine to kind of rise up above mediocrity, like the fray of the world? What keeps you focused the most that you do daily?
I wake up early.
Okay.
I wake up early. I set the tone for my day. I wake up. I kind of think about what I have to do throughout the day. It's kind of my perfect. To me, in the morning, I'm up at 5:30. It's sort of that perfect part of the day where I go have a workout, a cup of coffee. It's quiet. Typically, nothing has gone bad yet for the day. So I'm able to sit there and really think. I think one of my strengths is I'm much more of a visionary than the implementer. So I get to really think and get creative. Because what I notice is when I'm in the office doing day-to-day tasks, it's when I'm the least creative, have the least amount of vision. So just that morning routine of waking up early and having a clear head, I'm very big on clarity. That helps me so much than if I just woke up and went right into the fire of the day. And at 5:30, the kids aren't up, the house is quiet. I'm able to really think and set the tone for what I want to do.
That's awesome. Do you have a spot that you go to, or just as long as there's no one else there, you're good?
Just as long as no one else is there, I'm good.
Yeah.
A lot of times I'll go work out in the morning and I'll throw on a podcast, or I'll listen to some music, but just to kind of just get my mind right for the day. If I can get up early and just win that part, it makes it easier to win the rest of the day.
Yeah. Awesome, man. There's so much more I could ask you, because I'm so curious about how you do so much giving back in your community. You teach so much to agents in your area. You can even teach agents in my area. Probably once they connect with you, they can come to your stuff via Zoom and stuff. You just bring so much value and quality to. I'm proud that you're with Remax, not to mention a realtor. I think it's fun working alongside you, and having you on the show today has been great. I got to figure out how I can get everybody to listen because you've been a treat to have on there. I appreciate you, Carl, very much, and God bless you and your business going forward from here. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
Well, hey, that's a wrap, folks. Thank you so much for listening to Rise Up in Real Estate. If you liked hanging out with us today, please find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Rise Up in Real Estate. Also, follow us right now on your favorite podcast host to hear more episodes. We really appreciate you spending some of your time with us. And until next time, let's do each other a favor and all help each other rise up.